Welcome to Ferocious Achiever. I'm James Heppner, founder and CEO of Heppner Results Coaching. We turn successful achievers into high-level achievers, grow their authority, expand their capacity to maximize all of life, and help them create a life that is vibrant and rich no matter the outcome. We help successful people stop the self-sabotage, raise their standards, and participate with unshakable confidence, creating more gains with less strain. We believe that every person has a unique message that can positively impact the world. Stick around to the end of the show where we'll reveal how you can be our next guest in 20 to 25 minutes. Let's go.
My background is in marketing and product development. So I worked with beverage companies for a long time. I do lots of wineries and breweries and farm to table food products. So I've gotten to work with a lot of salt of the earth, agriculture kind of folks, and then turn around and go and sell those products in Seattle and Portland and San Francisco and Denver, and help people literally for fruit of their labor from dirt to take things to the masses and create opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise had. But over the past few years, I spent time building a podcasting network and a publicity booking company and helping entrepreneurs reach larger audiences and share stories. And so I set out on this social venture project to subsidize an entire podcasting network. And we did a national casting call. We got 5,000 applications in the first week. And over 2 years, we produced 1,500 episodes. We raised about $240,000 US and donated it all to young broadcasters and positive vibes, therapists, mental health. We created a lot of content to help people. And so I recently finished that and launched a new business doing business matchmaking. And we have entrepreneurs reaching out to us looking for, as you know, networking events can be exhausting. And these people who have highly valuable time, like your audience, are showing up to an in-person networking event reticent, knowing, maybe everyone there is going to try to sell them insurance or something. And for me, it's like I get stuck in the corner with some kind of crypto bro, and I take a long bathroom break and a phone call and Irish goodbye and see you next time. And so my business partner in this most recent endeavor is actually a matchmaker, like she helps people find love. And she's been very successful at it. She's one of the best ones in the US. But she only works with high value singles in Colorado, where she's based. And so we decided to implement a lot of her systems of qualitative versus quantitative data about people's businesses as well. What are your values and what are you looking to achieve? And sure, I'd love to send you referrals, but I would like to introduce you to people who can give you 50 referrals. So we connect people in catalyst relationships, and there is the I'm looking to be a board member, find a board member, be a mentor, find a mentor, speaking opportunities, find a speaker, whatever. There are mutual, people that just belong together. But we've had a lot of people that said, I would really like to meet the executive director of an association of cannabis companies or real estate people or whatever. So who is the person in your industry? And a lot of people are kind of dumbfounded by that question of, if I could introduce you to anybody tomorrow in North America that could give you 50 referrals, who would they be? Because these people, like you said, want to work smarter, not harder. And a lot of them are seeking evergreen revenues or things that can be replicable. So I work very closely with the publishing company that helps people write books. I obviously own a podcasting studio that helps people put their stories out there. We help people record and publish courses. And the whole idea is I work in multiple businesses in media production in service of helping coaches, authors, speakers harvest and grow their bandwidth through using their information in other ways. So if you've written a book, you should definitely have a course. If you've made a course, you should definitely be doing speaking. And we really work to connect to people in different industries to provide those services, which was a long-winded way of explaining to you that of late, I've been really in industries of communications, of networking and connecting entrepreneurs to further their goals.
I love this. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is Andy Petek. And he's an entrepreneur and investor based in Denver, Colorado. And his current project is called Founderist. If you want to look it up, Andy, the website is what again? www.founderist.com. Is it true?
It's
Founderist.com.
.club, that one.
Oh, .club. Awesome. And there, of course, they provide authentic connection for entrepreneurs in the founder matchmaking. And by the way, when I saw the matchmaking, it's interesting because you came through and I said, here's a matchmaker. I've never had a matchmaker on my podcast, right? But in business, in commerce, gosh, what do we all want? We want to be aligned with the individual, with the group that aligns with, and you mentioned values, right? And so you talk about over the last 10 years, you've launched more than 20 companies as a consultant, co-founder, or investor, and you've developed more than 100 products from farm to table. And I think that's really cool. I got into, by the way, last year, I grew some carrots. And so I was raised on the farm, but farm to table, that's a pretty big deal. And when I raised the carrots, I realized it was kind of fun going out there and scraping the dirt and putting the seeds in. But taking the carrot from the seedling to the watering to the table, that's a pretty long stretch, right? And so we can hear inside of you how you take the whole process and you get really involved in it, right? And so again, the idea to commerce. And so that's often for us innovators, ferocious achievers, we're all about taking a concept. We got this brainiac, right? This thing in our brain just goes like, whoa, this is going to be so awesome. And then of course somebody goes, and how are you going to do it? And so we're kind of going, well, I got my why. I think I got my what, but the how, right? And so I think sometimes what we need is we need people like you to come along and be like, let's not get stuck at the how. We got kind of the how somewhat figure. We're going to help you navigate some of those things. And so folks, Andy's career is dedicated. And obviously you can hear this already, to serving entrepreneurs and small business owners, and of course, the community that you work in. And you mentioned mental health, sustainability, and arts education. Tell me, where did all of this begin? Because there's so much. And what I hear is you got this passion for supporting humanity. And so much of it, you're a great, clear communicator, right? And just to get into like, what's really going on there. But where was this? Give us an origin story, just a minute or two. How was this birthed in you?
I grew up with two parents that worked in the advertising industry. And obviously this is well before the Mad Men show or some of these things, but I was very fortunate to get drug around as a little kid to photo shoots and to print shops. And my mom is an extremely talented graphic designer, and my dad was working in agriculture trade at the time. He's also a professor of advertising, go figure. And so I got to go with him to raspberry farms in Washington State, where I grew up. And he was actually working for the Raspberry Commission, going to Japan and Hong Kong and all over the United States and South America, creating products for different industries. And I was so fascinated with the fact that I'm watching these combines pick these raspberries, but they're turning them specifically into sorbets that are going to Tokyo and preserves that are going to Hong Kong, and jams and jellies and baked goods and cookbooks. I was just fascinated by the fact that I'm meeting these farmers, and my dad is turning around and taking that around the world and turning it into commercial products that work for each one of these markets. Meanwhile, my mom is teaching me how to do graphics and photography. So I went to college to go into communications, to go into advertising and graphic arts. And I ended up getting recruited into a sales management program with a huge wine company in California. And so for about 5 years,
there you get recruited. And it's often like, oh gosh, I got recruited. But what I hear in you is you got the smile going on. You go, and then I was fortunate enough to get recruited. Perhaps you didn't feel like that at the moment, but then you got recruited. Keep going.
Well, I was a part of a kind of traditional sales pyramid, and I woke up every day with 50 other sales reps with the same job. And I was in charge of Southeast King County and Seattle, but then I was in charge of a state for one brand and 5 states for several brands. And I got to work for the largest beverage wholesaler in the world, a $14 billion company. And when I decided to quit and start my own brewery, going from a company with 400 employees in Washington, but 15,000 employees in the United States, to 2 dudes in a garage, I was equipped to take something from scratch to actual commerce. And I'm very proud of the fact that our 2 dudes in a garage making apple cider I got us into 3,000 stores in 4 years, and that was just purely on hard work. So my thing has been bootstrapping my entire career. While I had my startup, I was also subsidizing that, working for a beverage magazine and working with other wineries. I ran a brokerage for a while. I put on beer festivals, and I just really immersed myself in the beverage industry, hustling around, trying to find ways where if I'm selling 10 other people's products, they'll pay for my plane tickets to go somewhere where I can also sell mine. So usually I was representing a whole portfolio of stuff so I could afford to have mine alongside theirs. And my little scrappy thing was able to go alongside these others because all these other people wanted my reach and my Rolodex, if you will. So in the meantime, I was running a marketing agency, helping people create things from little farmers market and Etsy kind of folks up to actually putting this in commercial grocery stores and retail distribution, e-commerce, whatever. And so when the pandemic rolled around and designing one beer can at a time didn't really seem like it. And that's totally minimizing what I do for a living. But, you know, I wanted to help the masses and really help things like you said, mental health and arts education. And so putting my resources into media, you know, you're a Canadian, the whole Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hour thing of expertise. My unique expertise that I'm in the top 1% of is specifically food and beverage marketing. I thank you for your compliment. I'm pretty good at broadcasting, but there's a lot of people that are better than me. So saying I'm going to take 2 years off and I'm going to produce 30 podcasts was yet another ballsy move, but I got to help, you know, probably 100 broadcasters, and we got to interview over 1,000 people, and we got to create content for, the numbers say, a couple million. So it's been really cool. And then I ran a small service booking people on podcasts and magazines and TV and helping entrepreneurs grow their base. And now we're connecting people with that human touch that is very specific. And the matchmaking thing, everybody loves. I mean, wait till you meet her. Like, my partner is the very extroverted, exciting one. I'm a little more of the brainy one. But it's been such a blast starting to do this business networking thing because it's serving the same audience in a different way.
Sure.
And I just love that we've been able to do this kind of high touch stuff around so many industries.
So Andy, talk to us. And again, the listeners here, we all want to hear moments of, how would I say this? Just where you drop into some real feels. The feels on. So you're on the plane, and so you used it, the term of, hey, listen, basically, if I can just hitch a ride with you while I do my scrappy thing, right? The scrappy thing. How did you take what you perceived the scrappy thing and let it become the thing in your life? Because oftentimes what people, you know, we're all in this space, and we have this idea where, you know, to some degree, I think, you know, if we're honest, and I love that you're humble, like, you know, yeah, we're creating this on our own, but we're also riding the coattails of what the market is doing and what the industry is doing. Or like you were saying, I get to hop on a plane and with these people. But how did you decide, perhaps, and don't want to actually prime it too much for you, like, what did you have to be about as a human being that'd be like, you know what? It's a scrappy idea, and I love the scrappy, and I love the bootstrapping of the scrappy. And how did that scrappy idea turn into being like, you know what? I don't need to ride the plane, hop on their little thing. This is my thing now. What happened for you there? And after that, I want to hear about what you're currently doing and, you know, unpack a bit more of that matchmaking.
Running a marketing agency for so many years, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I hear people every day that are service providers in creative arts saying that they don't charge enough for their services. And I always get an emotional attachment to all of my clients. And it's really hard, especially when the pandemic rolled around and I was getting handwritten notes on why people couldn't pay their bills. You kind of wonder what you can do to help. And at some point when I was running my brewery, the point that I wanted to make there was, it's very hard to have clients that pay you enough to do your best work. Or if you are, maybe they have bad taste, or they want to name their product after their grandma or whatever, like, that's fine. But when it's your own thing and you can wake up in the middle of the night and build yourself a new website, or you're constantly working on your pitch deck, you know, I was scoring meetings over companies with hundreds of employees because I knew that I walked in and I had an animated slide deck and a custom app that I built. And no other breweries had an app to order product from two dudes in a garage, you know? But I made us look like a 7-8
So,
figure organization when we were like a 4-figure organization.
which by the way, was that your brand? Two dudes in a garage? That would be an awesome.
No.
Like, can you imagine grabbing a beer can? It's like two dudes in a garage. Who doesn't want to have a like swing of that stuff? Give me two of those, right?
Yeah. Make sure it's pasteurized. So anyhow, it really all became about, like you said, if I put on a tasting event and there's 1,000 people there and there are 20 breweries, I can create that for all of those other manufacturers, and I can put my product right in the middle. Otherwise, I'm not getting 2,000 people to come and try my product at our tasting room. So I always found a way to use the community around me to, and it was really, I call it a triangle. I guess it's more of a square in this perspective, but for the events, it's fun because a ton of beer enthusiasts get to come and try beer. People love festivals. And we would do these unique concepts like IPA Fest, where we'd have only IPAs, but I would get all of the breweries to roll out stuff that they've never sold before or that they only make in kegs. And we would do this. I would literally select 85 IPAs and invite all of those breweries, and we would have this amazing experience for Seattle beer lovers. This was in Seattle at the time. And I would go to all the breweries and say, some of you don't have distribution. Some of you are not in restaurants and stores. This is going to get you in front of a couple thousand people, and I can guarantee that they are all avid beer enthusiasts. Cool. So the beer people are coming for the breweries are there for the beer. I would sell all of this based on sponsors, but I would go to local companies that wanted to meet the breweries. So if you sold, equipment insurance, or if you worked in media or something, I would have this whole thing subsidized by sponsors. So then the breweries didn't even have to pay to be there. So it's advantageous for them, advantageous for the sponsors, advantageous for the customer. But then obviously we are gaining a certain amount of clout for putting it on and a snowball, but we get to put our product in the front when, again, like, we're barely able to afford to participate in other festivals or man the booth for 20 hours over 3 days. So I've always just kind of thought about, how can I connect 3 or 4 different parties that wouldn't otherwise interact with each other and create a circle wherein it's mutually beneficial for everyone, but my brand or mission gets to kind of sit in the middle. And that's sort of been the way that I've been able to grow my businesses, because at some point people pay me for coaching and for speaking, and I'm able to affect a larger audience now, thankfully. Down the road, I'm not in a garage anymore all the time. But it's still, all of my businesses have been built from $5. We've never had traditional investing, and I've had business partners, but despite starting a lot of different businesses in several different industries, it's always been in service of the same people and helping other dudes in garages see their dreams through. So it's, to me, I don't want to make it sound rosy. A lot of people come on podcasts and puff their chest out about how much money they've made or how many people they've helped. And I've gotten to work on some really cool stuff, but I've also been sued. I've gone through divorce. I've gone through bankruptcy. I've been pushed into every element of stress that there is. And at the top of this, you talked about.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Good job. Yeah, because I think you know who you really are. When I say beautiful, I mean that all sounds messy to listeners. Are like, how is that beautiful? It all sounds messy. The only thing is, you're going to discover who you really are when you go through what you think is you can't handle anymore. You hit threshold and you're like, gosh, I've had enough. And then you realize, wait a minute, just a second. You hear the inner voice, and that is, do I have the capacity to handle something beyond what I have remembrance of? And also you'd be like, actually, I don't have a choice. I'm going to have to handle this, and I'm going to go back to my garage. Like you say, I'm still in the garage every now and again. So that's beautiful, right? All the time. Yeah.
So at the top of this, you were talking about energetics and kind of some manifesting energy. And one of the things that I really learned is you got to be open to opportunities, because so much media and so many podcasts even are saying niche down, smaller, smaller, smaller. You need to be so specific. But a great example is when I first moved to Denver, I didn't know anyone. I relocated from Seattle and just wanted a life change. And I was on Bumble, the dating app, and they have this business version in the US where you can meet other business people, kind of one of the inspirations for the business matchmaking eventually. And this gal reached out to me and said, hey, I'm the best barber in Denver. If you let me cut your hair, no one will ever cut it again. And If you're looking at my hair right now, you can tell I'm in Seattle on work. But anyway,
Or a haircut.
yeah, I let this gal cut my hair, and within an hour, she convinced me to invest in her business. I came on as a partner, and we launched this speakeasy private barber club. And I don't know anything about the hospitality or service. I mean, I know about hospitality, but cosmetics or whatever, even for men, is not really my wheelhouse. But I ended up owning part of this club, and then I ended up meeting a whole bunch of my clients who were the men that were clients of this. And then
I think they say men who are going bald, so they didn't need haircuts, but they need some
many, lots of men who are going bald. And for being so high in the mountains, there's, lots of guys have beards, but lots of balding. There's something to that. But I ended up working with an Italian cosmetics company that does perfumes and makeup. And, somehow there was like one led to the next. And so the point is, being open to opportunities. I always thought that my work would speak for itself, and all my stuff, if I just make the best bottle of beer, people will find it. And I've never wanted to network. And like all of this comes back around to my current business and the podcasting and all that. I am a terrible networker, and I'm an introvert. I can be charming in a group of less than 5, but I always say I would rather speak in front of a TED Talk of 2,000 people than walk into a bar where I don't know anyone. And so for me, doing business prospecting, I've just always relied on having referrals and having high value clients come to me, which I've been fortunate to have. But I just did not like putting myself out there. And it took me about 10 years to realize, and this comes back to the energetics that you said, attracting people, and what all of your listeners want to do. A lot of people in that manifesting speak call that magnetism. And I realized that, sure, I can create a lot of great products, and I can create a lot of great businesses, and I can team with a business partner that's a total extrovert and is really fun and used to be a TV producer and is a matchmaker. Who doesn't want to work with somebody who finds love for a living? But people that come to work with us want to work with me. And I never gave myself enough credit in my own social media or in anything else.
Good job. Which, by the way, the question I have for you, why do you think they want to work with you? Because we all want to hear, and I'm going to tie together what you said earlier. There you are at an event, and your product is right in the center. Okay. So often what ends up happening is, I think if we're not careful, we end up just building into, apparently we should have strengths everywhere. But a true leader knows their strength and their weakness. And it's like you say, I know I'm an introvert. I'm great. And if I speak to a large crowd, but walk into a bar, please, less than 3, 4, 5 max, right? So kind of your limit, your boundary. And at the same time, what you do is you use a circle versus a pyramid. Sign of a leadership is a circle, which is to say, hey, listen, if I am just comfortable within what the strengths that I have, what's going to end up happening is I don't throw myself out of the circle of greater good. As a matter of fact, I can be bold, and I can actually position my product at the center, because at the center was the piece, was the energy, was the energetics that pulled it all together. Because if it wasn't for you, this event wouldn't happen, right? And so I want to hear a bit more of that, and keep on tooling into what you got. We got a few minutes left, and please tie it together to this. And this is what you're doing. You're kind of bringing this all together to business matchmaking. Go ahead.
So I guess I didn't expect the beer festivals to be the best example, but it is in this case. In that room, everybody thought they knew who they wanted to meet, right? But by the end, none of those were correct. Wow. So the breweries wanted to, first of all, you asked about me. Nobody can sell your product like you can. And when I go to those things, and I was pulling the draft handle and giving people, glasses of my stuff, they were surprised to hear that I was the owner of the company, because first of all, I'm running this whole event, but everybody else were like promotional models that were pouring Red Bull or whatever, and it wasn't in this case, I picked small companies where the owners would be there. So it was a little different. But
which, by the way, I have this techie client, and he's getting married this spring, and he's the bartender at his wedding.
See, you have to,
right? You got to do this. Keep going. I love it. Yeah.
Nobody can make the stuff as good as you. So in that room, the breweries wanted exposure to the people, but they didn't know that I invited a bunch of people from the media and wholesalers and people who wanted to meet them, who were going to change their future. Right.
Wow.
And so a lot
Incredible.
of them, from just
Mm.
showing up and bringing $200 of kegs and spending 3 hours pouring, a lot of them got distribution contracts out of that and didn't know.
Mm.
And the sponsors, the guy who sells insurance, who doesn't want to look boring, who shows up with the, cornhole or whatever, and is trying to talk to people about insurance at a beer festival, he always looks at people and they dread seeing him there. You have to be in the community, but nobody's pounding beer wanting to hear about insurance. But that guy got to meet these breweries who all really needed insurance. And I did hand introductions and said, this is the guy that handles my brewery. This is a special way that he helped insure my tanks. And I helped them craft an insurance package for breweries. So then I've pre-vetted 25 clients for him. And he didn't expect to actually get business out of that. He thought he was just going to be talking to people. So you can imagine he sets up his tent and everything, and there's people walking by. But if any of them sign up, it's just icing on the cake, because the vendors are who he didn't know he was there to see. And the same thing goes. The people that showed up got to taste a whole bunch of beers that I had specially made just for that event for one night only. So if you can make everybody else win, all of those people ended up loving us and everything we did in the future. And this is the one. This is the bringing it all together, is you create your tribe of people who will follow you from one thing to the next. When I said I went from owning a cycling team to owning a brewery to owning a networking company, or I wrote a book, but then I'm investing in a yoga pants company, people who follow me will consume whatever I make because they feel like they're part of my orbit. And I can tell you how,
well, you're the hub. Like, when
the
they
center
come,
of the wheel.
You're the center of the, exactly. So when they come, they think they know what they're coming for. However, what you deliver is something beyond the common expectation. They're going to a beer festival. They're thinking we're going to do, like you say, a couple of kegs and pour a couple of drinks. We're going to smile at some people. And all of us, what happens is, see, you're thinking behind the scenes. What are these people? It's like the chess. Like my kids play chess. They got me going on chess. I play online chess, and gosh, my score, my ranking. My son was helping me originally, so my score was a little higher. I said, stop helping me because I want to see how good I actually am. It's so low now, and I'm playing with probably 4-year-old kids. I don't know, but the thing is, you got to get to a level of understanding where you actually are at and being good at that. And honestly, to your strength, what I'm hearing, we're all hearing this. You show up and you say, listen, what am I good at? Not focusing on what you're not good at. Like when you said, listen, I'm not a great marketer. Firstly, I think that's humorous. I think you got a great sense of humor, because what I think a great marketer actually is someone, or, sorry, did you say you're not a good marketer, or did you say, yeah, no, you're not a good, what was it again that you mentioned?
Well, I mean, I do marketing for a living. I just don't like promoting my own service.
Okay, promoting your own service. So there you go. Promoting your own service. And what's interesting is therein lies your strength. When you don't promote your own service and you promote what the other people want, they're addicted to you. The hub, it connects, it goes, it just keeps going. So wrap this up. Talk to us, and we want to just give us a bit of the slice, not the bitter slice, but give us like the sweet slice that's maybe a little sweet and sour together. Like, why do we want this business matchmaking? Like, give us listeners an example of someone that came in, was maybe skeptical, and then they just went full in, and now look what they get to experience.
Sure. Well, one thing I want to make sure that I say is I just talked about tribe, and I know that everyone that listens to this podcast is a part of your tribe, and they're trusting you to find good guests. They're trusting you to ask me good questions and to draw the value out of speakers of all different kinds. Thankfully, I hope I can bring a lot of value, but I do appreciate the ability to be here because I want to be a spoke on your wheel, that you are the hub, just like all of you guys listening.
You greedy son of a gun.
Right?
No, I like that about you. It's good. Good
take
job.
all that free content and advice you can, because I listen to 100 podcasts a week, and it matters. So to me, when I started doing this business matchmaking thing, which is very new, we've had some of the most wild use cases. We got a gal that runs a international association for cannabis businesses. And, cannabis isn't federally legal in the United States yet. And there isn't an importing element yet. We're probably 10 years from importing product from South America or Mexico or the Middle East, and having a supply chain of raw goods or packaged and, medicinal purposes, whatever. And she said, I don't care. I want to meet people that have import and export experience. I want to meet people that have done overseas manufacturing, agriculture. Like, she's getting grant money from a lot of different places. And why don't you guys go and find me farmers? And I was like, awesome. I grew up around farmers. But we've had some people that were coaches that said, I have one guy right now that's in Montreal that has a successful coaching business and publishing, and he does a lot of speaking, and he's trying to pitch a reality TV show, and he wants to meet production companies for the proof of concept. And hiring a matchmaker is interesting because we put on events. We're going to be putting on events monthly to introduce multiple folks that we represent with each other, but we're a headhunter. I mean, you're paying to have someone out there looking for you. And the big thing for me is, and I guess the way to kind of sum this all up is, when you're on a dating app, for those of you sad, poor folks that are in my same boat, of, you're not sad, but those people that are out there being single.
You look unbelievably happy. You look unbelievable. I don't know if you just went through a divorce and you had to get that unloaded, but anyway, it's good. And by the way, I've been married for like 22 years, been at the same woman for 27. So yeah, thank you. Yeah. And perhaps I'm a little happier than you. Just kidding. Yeah. And I do have a lot of happy. Yeah.
Well, so dating apps didn't exist the last time you were single. If you're on an app, and
true.
It's so true. If you're on an app, people can see how tall you are, where you went to school, and what your favorite food is. But they might need to get 6 or 7 dates in to see that you're a racist, or you snore, or maybe you have a weird religious background, or there's some kind of deal breaker. You don't put things up front. For example, I interviewed a gal last week that works in TV news, and she said, I wake up at 3:00 in the morning. It sounds stupid, but I can't be with the guy who snores. I'm a light sleeper, and it would ruin my career. You're not going to put on your Bumble or Tinder thing, like, snores need not apply. So put that in the same story as your business. If you are a dad and you have a family and you are oriented around health and wellness, you might not want to have a business partner who's a drug addict who makes, movies in South LA or something. So it's all a mix of being able to have somebody out there pre-vetting. Anyone who I might introduce you to has to go through a half-hour interview and have a background check and all the things. So when it comes to this business matchmaking and my current project, I think it's really invaluable for people, because there's a lot of these referral groups that people join, and they cost thousands of dollars a month. And it's like, rest assured, we only have one person in each industry. That's how most of them work. But like you said at the beginning, that doesn't mean you like any of those people. That doesn't mean you have anything in common or similar values. And you're like, oh, I'm supposed to send my business to this guy now just because he pays to be part of this group. It's not how that works. So we provide this, in my opinion, pretty cheap service because, we're really testing out a thing that we hope can be a long-term service for people to connect valuable relationships. And if you're super big on made in America, made in Canada, not outsourced, and you want to meet people that are manufacturers, that can be hard. If you want to meet, like, for the example, I always say, if somebody says, we have two groups, and I'll do this fast. So if I'm going to send you referrals for your business, we're going to do that anyway. We're friends now. That's the thing. Teach me everything I need to know.
Beautiful.
I'm doing that. We have this group called solvers. A solver is like anything that can help your business with a current hole or something that's going to happen. So I'd love to start a podcast for my business, but I'd like to meet a producer. I'd like to meet somebody who's succeeded in podcasting before, who knows how to monetize, whatever. I don't want to Google who should edit my podcast. Help me find someone. I need a virtual assistant. I need a video producer, whatever. And then the other side is expanders. And that's kind of what I said at the beginning, is in your industry, if you prefer to work with people in tech, what is the biggest tech trade show? Or what association can I introduce you to? Or what show producer from a TV network can I introduce you to that could get you 100 referrals? I'd love to give you one, but I'd love to introduce you to somebody that can become a partner and get you the bigger. And so that's what this whole thing is about. And for all y'all introverts like me, we'll find the exact people you're looking for without having to go to 15 networking events and never find them.
Oh my goodness. And whatever's in that cup, I think we all want to sip from it, because if that's what it takes, what it takes to be passionate about your own purpose, you just lit us up here. So thank you for the gift. you showing up. And by the way, I love your lighting. Your lighting, listen, for anyone that wants to start, right? It's
Do I look like an
incredible.
angel? It's like coming straight out.
It's a lamp. And as I'm listening to you talk, 100%, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so the guy there's not a halo above his head, but like you say, it's coming straight up and it's straight down. So it's like you're breathing in the energy from the earth and it's like shooting up through your head and it's coming back down and grounding in the earth. And you're just like, yeah, anyway. So it's an absolute pleasure to be with you. The last question I have for you, because all of us want to know this. We all know that we struggle in certain areas, and you've been so authentic and so vulnerable. You fit right in here because the only way to be a human being is to be real, in my opinion. It's the only way. Your power is by being real. You listed how it is. You just speak from the heart. You did it. Awesome. Love it. Where do you struggle in your life, and what are you currently doing to integrate the struggle? Because a lot of us, what we do is if we're not careful, we tend to resist, when in reality, what we want to do is embrace the struggle, because the struggle has us go a little bit deeper and get a little more proficient and perhaps enjoy our life just a little bit more, so that light right now, what you see top and bottom, can go right, left as well. Sorry, I'm challenging you to a lamp that'll do that. Just take the shade off. It'll do it anyway. But anyway, go ahead. Where do you struggle, and what are you doing, or what are you trying that is doing everything you can to not exclude, but to utilize and pull in and to integrate and to embrace and to let it become part of this magic that you're part of right now?
Sure. So my most immediate answer to a question like this is usually something about work-life balance. And for the last 10 years, I've mostly put my business first, and I've gone headfirst into every risky opportunity, and I haven't needed to prioritize anything else. And, I'm 35 years old. I'm looking to find my forever person to start a family. I just moved back to the Northwest last week after living in Colorado for 5 years. But I want to give you one deeper.
Please.
I have had the opportunity over my career to monetize all of my hobbies. I was a photographer and I started doing it for a living. And now I own a video business, and I love cycling, and I owned a cycling team for a while, and I love skiing, and I manufactured snowboards for a while. And for better or worse, everything I do is a write-off because I work in a lot of industries, but all the things that I do for fun, even having written a book over the last year, it's like I love reading, but now every time I read, I feel like I should be writing or I should be editing or something. So having some way to turn it off at 5 o'clock or at 9 o'clock or whenever you work. I have taken a very long time to learn how to turn it off and have things that aren't work, because there's that old adage of, if you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. But it goes both ways, because there's kind of always working and kind of never working. But I don't have a weekend where I walk into a grocery store to buy food and I don't analyze every single package on the thing and get a text message from a client. And positive boundaries are very, very paramount, because I was just a yes man for so long. Like I said, I took on a lot of small clients that I wanted to help because I felt they were somewhere that I used to be. And you have to value your own time at some point if you're going to have a personal life and physical and mental health. And so for me, I've never wanted to say no to anyone. And I would say in the last probably 6 months has been the first time I've ever had to say, can I introduce you to somebody else who can take on your project, rather than me doing it myself? And guess what? I now own a networking business where I can introduce you to somebody else. So I freed it up for me. I've helped them, and I helped person number one. We're making the circle.
Yeah, because you're honest, because you stepped into it, you actually created a brand new opportunity that allows you all of what you want, which is to gain and to experience something by doing less. And I often think connection, if we're smart, we lean into the very thing that feels like it's poking us in the rib, and we just go straight towards it. We don't flinch, right? We have the ability to handle way more than what we think. And it's a little bit like, so this new thing comes, and I'm thinking it should go a certain way because I'm used to doing it that way. But it's like, am I willing to do something totally different? I love it. Hobbies. Listen, you're never going to work a day in your life. We've all heard the adage, you're coming out, and you're saying you're coming out. You're coming forward. Well, sorry, go ahead.
Maybe not. Well, the other thing is, you think about the fact that human beings are always going to exist. And thankfully I work in the food industry and I think we're always going to need to eat food. But even in the past couple of months, these weird apps where artificial intelligence is doing graphic design and art and winning juried competitions, I might not be able to be a graphic designer forever. So connecting humans together and helping feed them or the environment is a good long-term investment as well. And on top of all the feel goods.
I love it. It's so good. So listen, Andy, where can people find you? Throw down your website. Where can people find you, your book, the Founders Club, whatever you got, just bring it forward so we can make it easy for us.
Yep. My universe is a hot mess. My company is called Daydreamer Ventures. So all of my monikers are Daydreamer. My Instagram is andy.the.daydreamer. And that's the easiest place to find me. I own a marketing business and a media company that are under that Daydreamer moniker. My dream is to be like Richard Branson someday and have, Daydreamer cell phones and Daydreamer ATM machines. But right now it's a marketing agency and a media business. But anyhow, if you want to follow me and all my weird antics and different things, it's andy.the.daydreamer. Founderist is founderist.club, different suffix for the domain. And equally on Instagram and YouTube and everything, it's founderist.club. So if you're interested in networking with other folks in your industry or out of your industry and working with a business matchmaker, Founderist is the way. If you want to follow me, I've got a couple of podcasts. I wrote a book. I do a lot of weird stuff. The place to follow me is Instagram, and you can find the tree to all of my websites and stuff.
The fact you're on Instagram, that makes you weird.
What do you use?
You know what? I don't.
TikTok?
I used to use exactly. I don't do TikTok. I don't do Instagram. Facebook, I guess I have an account. My assistant has the password. I don't even get in, so I don't have a clue. Honestly, I'm like you. I hate promoting. Well, hate's a strong word, but I'm not that proficient at promoting myself. I used to be quite good at it, but let's just say it this way, it led me down a slippery slope and it wasn't too helpful for my life. And so now I'm a little gun shy when it comes to promoting. So we need to talk after, because at the end of the day, I think what we have to do, and again, I don't want to speak for you, but we need to make it easy for people to say yes to our offer. And that's what I've been about all my life, for the last 10 years anyway. After I changed the approach, the sell promotion part, oh gosh, I don't really know how to do that anymore. You know what I mean? So thanks for being on the show. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to you on the flip side, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
James Hepner here. Thank you so much for listening to Ferocious Achiever. If you are a successful owner, founder, C-suite executive, or CEO who would like to be on this program, please visit us at www.ferociousachiever.com. Near the top of the page, you'll see our Ferocious Achiever lion logo. And right next to the lion logo, to the right-hand side, you'll see a little blue box that when you scroll over top and click on it, it'll take you directly to that guest booking page. Now, if you got something out of this interview, would you share this episode on social media or send it via email or text? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. If you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media or send them an email or a text. Let them know about the show and include the hashtag Ferocious Achiever. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions, so please don't be shy. Now, we regularly put new content, new episode out, and we do this consistently. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, reviews, those things all go a long way to help promote the show and mean a lot to me and my team. You want to know more? Simply go to the website www.jameshepner.com or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. And here's something that you don't want to miss. If you want to stop the self-sabotage, you want to raise your standards and participate with unshakable confidence, you will want to take the Maximize Your Life quiz, now found at www.jameshepner.com/quiz. By taking this little quiz, you will discover exactly where you're making your life unnecessarily difficult and exactly where your behaviors are cutting you off from the outcomes and goals you crave most. Your quiz results will pinpoint with precise accuracy the exact areas to focus on. This will immediately activate your ability to use your time and resources effectively and instantly set you on your path to create higher level gains with less strain. Why not get down to the base and discover the truth about what's controlling your life right now? I challenge you, take a few minutes. You owe it to yourself. You're worth it, and your experience of life depends on it. Give yourself the gift by honoring yourself and taking 5 minutes to invest in yourself. Take the Maximize Your Life quiz now. Again, found at www.jameshepner.com/quiz. And finally, set yourself on the path that will lead you directly to what you want and need most now. Until next time, peace out, rock up.